Little Blue, Little Blue. Why do they call you Little Blue? Playing in his bath a summer was due. He bit his mummy's fountain pen and broke it in two. The ink it squirted in the water, wow. His mummy has a blue boy now. They scrubbed and rubbed, he cried and kicked up a din. The more they washed it off, the more it washed in. He cried, oh mummy, mummy, what shall I do? I'll have to stay a little blue.
These are meadow cottages in the village of Haythorn, where Little Blue lives with his mother, Mrs. Jellybun. Their cottage was where they used to keep the village fire engine, so it has a high entrance, which is useful because Mrs. Jellybun is larger than most people who live in the cottages. She gets on well with her neighbours and has happy times chatting with them over the garden fence. On one side live the Wests. Mrs. West is a cleaner at the school and helps with the dinners. Mr. West works on the roads for the council. They have a son, Geoffrey West, who is rather bossy and always telling Little Blue what to do. He isn't a very nice boy. On the other side lives Miss Gusset, the dressmaker. She's rather poor, because many people buy their dresses by post these days, ready-made, and she doesn't get much work. Little Blue is called Little Blue because when he was a baby, he was biting at a fountain pen in his bath, and it burst. Mrs. Jellybun has tried lemon juice, bleaching powder, pumice stone, even pot scourers, but they don't work. I expect you heard about that in the song. Now she's got used to seeing him that colour, and is even a bit proud that he's different from other children, so she calls him Little Blue. Little Blue goes to Haythorn School, and one morning the headmistress, Mrs. Chalk, said, "Children, I want you to meet our new teacher, Miss Merriweather, who will be in charge of games." Miss Merriweather said, "Now, children, you are all going to be divided into houses to play games against each other, and the house who scores the most points will be Cock House. Great fun. There will be Red House, Blue House, Yellow House, and Green House. You will all wear caps the colour of your house. Great fun. Bring 60p to school tomorrow for your caps." When Little Blue went home after school, his mother had a nice tea ready for him. I expect you'd like to know what it was. It was jam sandwiches, watercress, a bun, and a mug of milk. He said, "Mummy, Miss Merriweather says I'm to take 60p to school tomorrow for my red cap." "Miss Merriweather? 60p? Red cap? What red cap?" "My red cap because I'm in Red House." And Little Blue explained about Miss Merriweather being the new games mistress and the houses. "Hoity-toity," thundered Mrs. Jellybun. "You can give your Miss Merriweather my compliments and tell her I shall decide what colour your cap shall be, if you wear a cap. Now don't start crying, and finish your tea." Of course, what upset her was that she couldn't spare 60p. The next afternoon, she was looking out of her front window when she saw Little Blue coming home with Geoffrey West and Kipper Guppy. He's called Kipper because his father keeps the fish shop. Geoffrey West had on a green cap, and Kipper Guppy had on a yellow one. Little Blue, of course, had not got a cap on at all. And suddenly, Mrs. Jellybun felt very sad. She had a nice tea waiting for Little Blue. I expect you'd like to know what it was. It was dripping toast, an apple, a currant bun, and a mug of milk. "I thought you said it was a red cap you had to wear." "Yes, Mummy." "But Geoffrey West had a green cap, and Walter Guppy a yellow one." "Yes, Mummy, but they are in different houses." "Hoity-toity," thundered Mrs. Jellybun. "You have houses in a street, not in a school. Now, don't start crying, and finish your tea." That night, when Little Blue was in bed, Mrs. Jellybun had an idea. She got out her old red dressing gown and set to work to make Little Blue a cap. She cut out a circle for the top and gathered it round the edges. Then she cut a little half moon for the peak and sewed it on. She doesn't find sewing very easy because she has big hands and has to use a very large needle. Why didn't she take it next door to Miss Gusset, who would have made it for nothing out of friendship? Well, she didn't want Miss Gusset to know she couldn't afford a cap from the school, did she? Next morning, Mrs. Chalk and Miss Merriweather heard a lot of shouting and laughter burst out in the playground, and looking out of the window they saw the children jeering and pointing at Little Blue. "Whatever's that on his head?" said Mrs. Chalk. "It looks like a tea cosy or a pincushion." "Good heavens, Mrs. Chalk, I think his mother has tried to make him a cap. Let us give him a free one. I will pay for it." "Too late, Miss Merriweather. His mother would be upset and offended if she thought the cap she made wouldn't do." "Wait, Mrs. Chalk. I have a whipping idea." That afternoon they had a practice game of football, and afterwards Miss Merriweather said, "Little Blue, you are a very good player, and we have decided to give you your first 11 colours. You will play centre forward against Northfield School on Wednesday." "Miss Merriweather, how much will the colours cost?" "Nothing, Little Blue. They are an honour you get free. Great fun." Mrs. Jellybun was waiting to see Little Blue come home that afternoon, and she was astonished to see that he was wearing a cap divided into quarters of red, blue, green, and yellow. "What's that you're wearing, boy?" "It's my honours cap, Mummy, for football. Look, here is my football shirt and shorts. I don't have to pay for them, Mummy." "What about boots?" "Miss Merriweather says that with my feet being as strong as they are, I shan't need special boots." Mrs. Jellybun was relieved to hear that, although she didn't like the pointed reference to his feet. On Wednesday, everyone gathered to see the match against Northfield. Miss Merriweather wore her shorts because she was refereeing. Mrs. Jellybun wore a big rosette in the school colours. Miss Merriweather blew her whistle, and the game began. Little Blue was determined to do his very best. Now, he has enormous legs, and in practice games he'd never kicked very hard. But now, for the honour of the school, he got the ball and gave it a mighty kick. Wham! It whizzed against the Northfield crossbar and broke it in two. There was a delay while they fixed a new crossbar, and Miss Merriweather took Little Blue on one side. "Great fun, Little Blue, but dear, don't kick quite so hard." "Yes, miss, no, miss," said Little Blue. But when the game started again, and the ball came his way, he completely forgot, and gave it an enormous kick, so that it sailed right out of the ground, over the school, over the church, and disappeared. So there was another wait while they fetched another ball. "Little Blue, dear, great fun, but I've told you already, don't kick the ball so hard." "No, miss, I'm sorry, miss. I'll remember." And he did remember for quite a while. But then he found himself in front of the Northfield goal, and getting excited, he gave the ball a tremendous kick, and bang! It exploded and burst into little bits. So they had to get another ball. Miss Merriweather was furious. "Little Blue, I can't very well send you off the field, but you are not to kick the ball again. Do you hear? Don't kick that ball." They begin again. This time Little Blue simply gets out of the way every time he sees the ball coming. The match is played nearly through to the end, and neither side scores. Now there's only half a minute to go, and the Northfield captain beats the Haythorn defence and slams in a cannonball of a kick at goal. Little Blue can't get out of the way fast enough. The ball hits him on top of the head, but his head is very strong and thick, so instead of knocking him unconscious, the ball shoots back high in the air, goes the length of the field, and bounces into the Northfield goal. The crowd goes wild. Miss Merriweather blows her whistle, and Haythorn has won. Little Blue scored off his head. With the entire team helping, because he's very heavy, Little Blue is cheered off the field. Mrs. Jellybun wept tears of joy. Colossal fun, said Miss Merriweather. So Mrs. Jellybun, very proud indeed, took Little Blue home to a nice tea. I expect you'd like to know what it was. A crumpet, bread and butter with a cold sausage, and a doughnut with jam in it.
Little Blue, Little Blue, why do they call you Little Blue? Playing in his father's summer was due. He bit his mummy's fountain pen and broke it